What's up, everybody? This is episode 95 of Hoops Talk with Dave's joint. Shout outs to everybody that's been supporting us thus far. For those who haven't seen any of our content, go check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and IGTV. And also very soon, we'll be making our return to editorial work. So stay tuned for some articles. But before we introduce our guests, check out the Players Circle on Instagram and also on the App Store. If you definitely want to post your highlights and everything, pictures, whatever have you. College coaches are checking this out. So definitely check out the Players Circle. We had to give a shout out to our sponsors real quick. But without further ado, I introduce our special guest tonight. He is the coach of one of the most influential high school basketball programs in all of New York City, Christ the King High School. He's won city championships, has won state championships, and has brought the Royals to an elite level within the last 10 to 12 years. But without further ado, I have with you Mr. Joe Arbitello. Coach, thank you for coming on to share your testimony.
No problem, Dave. I'm glad to be here.
Indeed, man. So, let's get started. My very first question for you is, what's Joe Arbitello's coaching philosophy?
You know what? My coaching philosophy is just get better every day, and I really don't bother worrying about like the little things.
Makes sense. All right. Yeah, you had to keep it brief real quick. So, when did basketball first start for you?
Oh man, very young age. I guess like when I was 5 years old at Our Lady of Lourdes in Queens Village, just playing in like a little sub-novice, and then I never stopped. It was really something that I just found so engaging.
That's dope, man. So, what part of Queens are you from, and what's the basketball culture like over there?
So I'm from Queens Village. I don't know if you know where that is. It's like a little closer to Nassau County. What it was like anywhere else growing up. You know, you had to compete. It's not as well, understood as some of the other meccas of the city for basketball.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So, how was it growing up with your sister Joanne Arbitello, who's I think is the oldest? Am I right?
She is the oldest. So I'm a twin. I don't know. A lot of people don't know that.
Oh wow!
So my twin brother was probably is Rob Arbitello. So he worked for my sister at Mary Lewis for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
He was probably the best basketball player in the family. You know, he wound up going to Malloy for a year and then finished up his career at Martin Van Buren. And Joanne got into the coaching a little bit earlier. And I watched her, and it actually was like something that inspired me a little bit to want to play, to want to coach. Maybe after my basketball career was done, my dad coached. He coached the little CYO teams, so in basketball. And then you always had the competitive. When you have a twin, you're just competitive in everything you do. And that's why we're as close as we are as a family.
Well, I mean, that's pretty cool, man. Shout outs to the Arbitello family. No, seriously, shout outs to Joanne and everything she's doing at Mary Lewis and with PD. I always modeled, I always love how she kept that program together, both of those programs, I should say. And it's ironic that their nickname is the same as Christ the Kings, the Royals.
Yeah. Well, my sister, I feel like she does it the right way, like that positive direction, it's true to its name, positive directions. She's helping out kids. She's not so engaged to wins and losses, and they win a lot, but she's engaged in just like helping kids. And if you see, I mean, if you go to one of her kids' innings, like all her former players from Positive Direction are back at the kids' birthday parties and hanging around. And at the end of the day, that's what it's truly, truly about, because the wins and the losses, people forget, but the friendships and the relationships forever.
So when did what were some tournaments that you loved playing in as a kid?
We used to play over there at Queen Center Mall, if you remember. I'm trying to think of the name of it right now. When I was a kid growing up and playing. I can't believe I can't. It's the first time that I saw Speedy Claxton play. I was actually guarding him. He was absolutely. He was in the 8th grade. I was in the 9th grade, and he was just out there. Hoffman Park. They used to have this play, and I'm older, Dave. So really, like when I was growing up, you had a lot of competition just in CYO itself. I remember in the 8th grade, in the CYO championship, we were playing Stephon Marbury. So, back then, CYO used to be a really, really big deal.
Yeah, CYO tournaments. I'm not sure how prestigious they are now, but I mean, I'm sure that they were always a big deal back in the day.
Any tournament Stephon Marbury played in, or any league, was a big deal. So I remember actually the championship game was at Christ the King, and it was CYO used to be used to have all the players, and I'm a lot older than you, Dave. That's when it was a big deal. And now, now there's really no relevance to CYO. It's not where you would find the best players.
Because now we have street ball, we have AAU, but CYO. They gotta, like, the parishes need to come get these players somehow, and get them to play in those leagues again.
Yeah.
So what
You're
led
not
you to
allowed
go?
to get players out of your area.
Wait, you said that they're not allowed to get players outside of the area?
See part of the parish supposed to here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Coach. You were saying? I couldn't hear you because you went off.
No, what's wrong? I said, like, CYO, you can't get players outside your area. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Like, they gotta belong to the parish.
I got you.
CYO will never be what AAU or what it used to be. As far as there's too many options.
Yeah. So what led you to go to Christ the King as a high schooler?
It had nothing to do with basketball. It just I actually went there to practice as an 8th grader. When you walk down the hill and you see, it's a beautiful place. And I kind of fell in love with it. It was a little further away from where I lived, but there was a teacher in the building that happened to be she was my sister's best friend's mother, Mrs. Hines. And she used to pick me up and take me in there every day, and it was really just the aura of being in there. It really didn't have too much to do with basketball. It just had to do with how beautiful the place was. I never left. I went there in 91 and I never left.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
So talk about what it was like.
I don't even know if you were born.
Oh, I'm 28, so I was born in 1992.
There you go.
So what was it sorry, what was Christ the King like during your 4 years, school wise?
Very similar to what it is today. Like, it's like a family. I was just on the phone with my best friend from Christ the King, and it's kind of like that once a Royal, always a Royal thing. It's just decades. When you go to school there, it's hard to explain. You become part of its culture. You become part. You make friendships for life. You feel like you're home every time you're there, and you know that just comes with the love and the support that the teachers and the faculty, the administrators, and the staff shows to the kids in that building.
Hmm. So like when you like as a like how were the games when you were in high school? Were they as packed as they are now?
Wait, I missed that. Say that one more time.
What were the games like in high school?
Oh boy, the games in high school is what you look forward to, right? Playing in that freshman game and then watching the JV and the varsity. You know, at that point you had more teams in the double A. Like I remember McClancy, Christ the King was come strolling in, and it was every night was a tough game, but the stands were packed. I think there was less like social media. I think there was no social media. I think there was less for kids to do.
Right.
So I think the atmosphere was like more student based. You know, a lot more people attending because that's kind of what you did on a Tuesday night or a Friday night. As you went to, you was so the atmospheres were electric. We've duplicated a couple of times since I've been coaching at Christ the King, but it was a consistent basis when I was a player.
Mm. So what the Christ the King basketball camps? What were they like then? Like what was it like working as a player?
You know, when my freshman year was the first year of the camp, and you
Mm.
know what, it grew and it kept growing, and more than just the kids coming to camp and stuff like that. It started to become like a meeting place because all the guys from college were home for a little while, all the guys overseas were home for a little while, all the guys who were in the NBA at that point were home for a little while. And it was a place where, just like it is today, where you know the 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 Erving Walkers, the Japheth McNeils, the John Severes, the Jason Sapolas, these guys are able to meet and decades and decades worth of kids coming back and talking and hanging out and keeping that culture together. I think that's kind of like the main thing in our camp. And I felt that from when I went as a freshman, and then when I worked it as a sophomore, it was just kind of like the place. And I think it's something that helps us carry on our tradition and our culture. Having those older guys speaking to those younger guys is really valuable to me and the players.
So you played how many years did you play on varsity? Was it 2 years?
Yeah, Dave, I played only 2 years. I played freshman, I played JV. I played two. I was the captain of my senior year team. I on my team that think they're good. I mean, when you have Erick, Barkley, Speedy Claxton, and Lamar Odom on the same team, it's hard to get any minutes. And then you had
Mhm.
guys like Ira Miller, even know about, who could quite possibly be the best player on my team last year if he was on the team. And Kamal McQueen, who went to St. Peter's. I mean, he had 8 Division I players on my varsity basketball team and 3 pros. Uh, you know, uh, so I realized in my senior year, I went after my senior year. I went to St. Joseph's in Brooklyn, and it just wasn't the same. Like I was one of the best players on the team, and I shouldn't be the best player on anybody's team. So
Mhm.
I kind of just stepped away from that, and I wound up going back to coach at Christ the King because what it's like. Once you play there, you're spoiled.
Mhm. So yeah, talk about that senior year, 94, 95. Like you guys had a really, really good year that season.
Well, it's funny that season we were picked. We weren't picked high. We were picked like to finish like fifth at Brooklyn Queens.
Mm.
Now remember, Brooklyn Queens was a lot bigger, a lot more teams. And I remember we lost the first game of the year to McClancy. They were good. They had Omar Cook's brother. They were really, really good. And then we kind of went on a tear. And what happened was, Lamar Odom was a 6'3" freshman, being a 6'7", 6'8" sophomore. And he started developing to the player that we knew he was going to be, but at 6'8". So once he started coming on, and Speedy Claxton, people really didn't give Speedy a lot of credit, but so we weren't picked to do really, really well. And then we won a bunch of games in New York. We had some really good leadership, and myself, Anton Tillett, who played, Chris Kraft, who played, and we wound up going to San Diego to play in that Torrey Pines. We played Mater Dei and lost by like one. We got robbed. They had Shea Cotton, who's one of the best high school players I've ever seen in my life.
Shout
He
out
was a
to Shea
monster.
Cotton. I actually interviewed him this summer.
No, he's in my top 3 list, Dave. He was Charles Barkley as a high school basketball player. So anyway, we lose to them, and then we come back and we beat Dunbar, and then we started really rocking and rolling from there. We just had that chemistry that you can't put down on paper. The seniors allowed the sophomores like Erick and Lamar to do their thing. Ira Miller was a junior and Speedy Claxton, who were just pretty dominant. Then you had Anton and Chris Kraft who started as seniors, and we wound up playing Reggie Jesse, who's outstanding too, in the Brooklyn Queens Championship at Bishop Ford. And once we won that game, we just kind of propelled it through, and all the things fell right, and we were able to get to the city championship game. We beat Rice in the semis. Now a little note on that: Gary Saunders was hurt that game, but then we wound up playing. We went down 17 to St. Raymond's. We went zone. We went up like 3, then we went down like 7, and then we wound up pulling out, winning the game. And Lamar Odom put on the greatest high school performance I've ever seen in that game by a sophomore basketball player.
So he had 36 points in that game. Wow.
I think he broke the record or something, or he tied. I mean, like that 95 team. It's the true definition of 15 guys being on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Even the seniors that did play because the sophomores were playing over them, those guys were okay. And minutes, obviously, and the championships. We're talking about the 1995 city championship game, not Game 7 of Los Angeles, or when Speedy came in for Tony Barkley and scored 10 straight points, which is amazing.
Yeah, man.
And that's the kind of that when you have a season like that, that's that. Is it me? I don't know.
So yeah, you were saying, Coach?
So I just said, when you have a season like that, it's just, it's something that you remember for life. I said, like Lamar Odom, Speedy Claxton, Erick, when we get together at camp, we're not even talking about the NBA, their championships. We're talking about the city championship against St. Raymond's. Those memories last forever, and it becomes part of the culture.
And then you guys went up to the Federation in Glens Falls.
That's right. Beat Lehigh. They had 2 studs.
Mm.
And then wound up playing Stephon Marbury in the state championship game and lost. I mean, that I think that game had 5 pros on the floor.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's about
Right,
three
Jamel
from.
Thomas,
Yeah, that's 5. Yeah, that's about right.
Jamel, Stephon Marbury, and the 3 on my team.
Yeah, that's about right.
Nothing was going to stop Steph that year. I'll tell you that much. Nothing was going to stop him. You know, he was a senior. He was ready to go.
Yeah. I mean, I wish there was some footage of that 95 Catholic school game against St. Ray's. I would love to see that footage of that game.
I think there is. I think Mike Quick has it.
You know what?
I think
he's the hardest. I think these days he's the hardest man to get a hold of. It's like, yeah, man, we really miss Mike Quick out here. Even though I know he still comes to the games every once in a while. I still see him at CK and at the Catholic high school games, but still, like, his influence is still needed.
Yep. I agree with you on that, man. A lot of changes just in the 10 and 11 years I've been coaching.
Yeah, man. Shout outs to the Christ the King high school graduating class of 1995.
They're doing well, man. We still stay in touch.
So yeah, so you said St. Joseph's College in Brooklyn. Talk about going there.
Well, I actually went to John Jay and then I transferred to St. Joe's. But you know, you know, and I see it with a lot of my guys. You know, when you go to Christ the King, it's like a college level deal. You know, from the practices to the guys playing with to gear. You know, it's just a college level thing. So like when I went to St. Joe's, I played one game. We lost by 18. At the end of the game, the guys are going out, drinking beers and having a good time. And I want to go jump off a bridge, you know? Like I never lost by 18 points in my life at Christ the King. And I'm like, this is what we're doing. And so I mean, I love the school. Academically, it was unbelievable. It helped me tremendously. But the basketball wasn't for me. So I wound up going, you know, it wasn't like what Christ the King was. You know, it's kind of like, let's show up and practice or whatever. And there was no demand, no demands. They didn't want to be great. So I wound up that year going to coach as a JV assistant with Artie Cox because I just wanted to stay around the game.
So wait, this was in the 90s, right?
You there, Dave?
Yeah, I'm here. So yeah, you started in the
Go ahead.
Yeah, you started coaching in the 90s under Artie Cox?
1996. I started as the JV assistant under Artie.
Wow. And this was at McClancy, right?
No. Artie was at Christ the King.
Oh, wow.
Artie was at Christ the King at that time.
So wow. So a year out of high school, you were the JV assistant coach. That's crazy.
Yes. I didn't have the aspirations of being cool. I just figured through college, I would stay connected to the game, and then, you know, if I saw time when I got, I would do it. I would even be a teacher. I just, you know, and it's funny how life, right? Like you wind up doing this. I never thought I'd be here.
So how long was it before you moved up to varsity?
Like my uncles own like auto body and auto mechanic up to other things there, and I always thought that was my life. So I finished college and student taught, and I enjoyed it a little bit. So I wound up, you know, I got my certification, and I wound up coaching and teaching at Christ the King. And I still had plans to be at the body shop, so I couldn't make a commitment to like really move up to the varsity. And then as time went on, I went from the JV assistant coach to the head varsity B coach. And that varsity B, like, I coaching the varsity B team, man. And if you want to be a really good coach, you should coach the varsity B team at your school before you do any other coaching. And that was probably like, I started, that was 96. So about 2003, I think, or 2002, I started the varsity B team, and it was the first year's team, and I wound up coaching that. And then I moved as the assistant to the varsity in like 2004, and I continued to coach the varsity B team.
Mm.
So then I took over in 2009, 2010 season as the head varsity basketball coach.
So talk about the varsity A experience as an assistant.
You know, it was good because coach the varsity try some things out. And so I tried some things out with the varsity B team that you have to answer the media after it. And then so I was able to then coach under, you know, and be the assistant and learn, you know, of coaching guys like Erving Walker and you know, Ryan Pearson, and you were able to see the difference between the two. So I think that helped also. And then you start to learn, like you take every step, you start to learn, and you get a little bit more responsibility, And by the time that I was like in my third year on the varsity assistant, I was pretty much doing everything, you know, the head coach was doing. So it helped me grow as a coach without like throwing me into the fire per se. You know, before I could actually handle it.
Mm-hmm. So 2008 comes, and the chance of a lifetime happens to you. Like, how did you feel when you got promoted to the varsity A, head coach?
That was the 2008, 2009 season. How did I feel? Honestly, I was just married. Well, I wasn't just married. I was like 3 years into my marriage, and my wife was having our first child. So she was due November like 24th, let's say. And, you know, I told her, hey, I'm going to coach the varsity basketball team. So we really had to sit down and make a decision because honestly, and I don't think anybody will ever believe this, but like, that wasn't my goal. Like, my goal wasn't to be a varsity basketball coach. I never was like, oh, I got to be a varsity basketball coach. I was offered other jobs and I wouldn't take them. I was happy at Christ the King. If I was an assistant my entire life, I don't even think it would bother me.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked about it with my wife, and my wife is the one who allowed me to do it. Because if she said, you know, like I really can't do this, I would have declined the job. But she was like, just so you know, she's very supportive. She's a great woman. So she tells me, you know, do it and let's see what happens. And you know what? It wasn't like I was excited about it. It's a prestigious job, but I was around it so much that I knew what to expect. So it wasn't like starstruck to me. I felt a lot of pressure on me to be good. I felt like we had to win right away. And then I realized that I was probably very silly for having those thoughts.
So talk about that first year.
Incredible year. You know, we go and we win the Bojangles shootout. We beat Kendall Marshall, and we beat two teams from the DC area. You know, two of the best teams in the DC area. Joe Wooten's team there, Bishop McNamara, and then Joe Wooten's team.
Bishop O'Connell?
And Bishop O'Connell, right? We beat them. We beat IMG in the first round, and then we beat McNamara in the second round, and O'Connell in the last round. And then you know, Sean Johnson, Matt, we had veteran guys that I was very close to. I'm still close to this day. And we had an amazing year, you know, for most teams. And then we get to that city championship game, and we lose to Rice and in the city, and it was such an empty feeling. I met with Artie Cox and Greg Lemko, and I met with them before the season and said, hey, I can't do this without you two. If you're not going to stay on board with me, then I don't know if I can do this, because I needed some real basketball people around me. I needed some guys that were loyal to me, that knew the program, that weren't going to worry about their own egos. And Greg and Artie defined that. They were as important to the Christ the King winning as they are. And then, and then Nick Sanchez, who's still with me to this day, who's just like an amazing person. As loyal as a friend as it comes. So after we lose to Rice that year, I mean, we had a great year. We were like 25-3 or something. I don't know. And I said, I didn't make the schedule that year. So I said to Greg and Artie, I said, I think our schedule hurt us. I think Rice went out and played tougher games than we did. I don't want to ever have this feeling again. And we met. We talked about some of the things we could fine tune. We came back the following year and won the city and state, which, was, again, an amazing thing to me.
Yeah.
After that first year, I wrote down my goals, like what did I want to accomplish in the 10-year period? And I put down, one federation, just as like my goals. One federation, one city, like 3 Brooklyn Queens championships. That's what I wanted. I would have felt successful in 10 years doing that. And then I put again, like unattainable goals, or, like your crazy thoughts, right? And so my crazy thoughts was like 1 federation, 2 city championships. So now when I look back right now and I look at that piece of paper, I say to myself, wow, that's I would have never thought that I'd be here right now. Never. But it all started with that Sean Johnson, Corey Edwards, Marion Smith, Eson Davis, Mo Barrow, Dominiquus Milk. Like, it started with that group.
Yeah.
That group. If that group would have gave me a hard time that first year, Dave, it would have been very, very hard to keep the wheels, on the track. It really, really, really would have been a difficult thing. But I credit those guys. I credit Artie and Greg and Nick Sanchez. I mean, it was just the chemistry. They brought into everything we said, and the players brought into everything that we said, and that's why we were successful.
Yeah, man. Now talk about that 2009 and 10 season, the second year.
The second year, I told Dominiquus Milko, we're going to have a worse record, but we're going to win the whole thing. And that was the truth. That was the truth. You know what? We came out, the veteran team. People were still unsure about me, right? Because it was my second year. We just lost in the city championship. And, people are always trying to tear you down. So they felt like Christ the King could crumble at that point. So we were battling a lot of things. And we go out and we really, we have an amazing year. And my wife is pregnant with my second kid at that point, and
little Joey,
little Joey, that's right, who's playing the game right now. And Joey's keeping me up all night because he was born and he didn't like to sleep. So every day we went into practice, it was a workman-like practice. And then I really felt real confident going into the playoffs. And then one Saturday practice, right after a quarterfinal game, we were going to play St. Raymond's we were going to play St. Raymond's at St. John's University at in the semifinals. And Corey and Omar Calhoun collided half court, and Corey shatters his ankle, and he's done for the entire season. I don't know if you remember that.
That was okay. That was yeah, you could finish telling that part. Go on.
So he shatters his ankle. We're playing. I think that's when they had Coro and Dingle.
Yeah, they were sophomores on that team.
Yeah. So that was Corey's junior year. So we moved TJ Curry over to the point guard spot, and we wind up beating St. Ray's. And now we go in and we're going to play Bishop Loughlin, I think, for the fourth time. We beat them the 3 previous times. They got Pinkston, they got Canty, they got Frazier. They're loaded. And we start that game with no Corey Edwards, and they come out and went down like 17-3. And I was like, oh boy, we're in a little bit of trouble here. So I decided let's go zone. We get it to a deficit we could deal with, and we wind up going into triple overtime. And we wind up beating them in triple overtime on a real tough play that TJ Curry makes, a big time three that Kareem hits, and we go
Kareem
the
Thomas.
first city championship game. Kareem
Okay.
Thomas, I lost his name for a minute. He's actually on The Bachelor now, right? So,
Oh, he is.
so, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Shout outs to Kareem Thomas.
he's like a celebrity. Justin Kirkland's doing some acting. Ian Duff is on New Amsterdam. Those guys are doing really well. Roland Brown's working with me. They're doing really well for themselves, that whole group. Give me 1 second. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Wind up playing. So we wind up beating them in triple overtime, and we go crazy. That was an unbelievable feeling. And we go upstate and we win the whole thing, which once again is an amazing feeling. But like at that point, we won, and still hear people chirping like you didn't win with your players. But those guys, if you ask them who they played for, they're all gonna say me. Like I was as close to those guys as any team in that I've ever coached. And then, yeah,
shout outs to TJ Curry. He really came up off of that game.
TJ Curry, probably one of the most fierce competitors I've ever coached. He would not be denied. He's as tough as they come. Mo Barrow was incredible. He was the MVP of that game.
He was really good. So year 3 comes up, and this is the trilogy year. Like, talk about that third year in office.
Third year, we come back, pretty much got the same team, missing a couple of pieces. Mo Barrow, we're missing Rawle, Dominicus. So we bring in, we got Ortiz, we got Omar, we got Corey, and we go and we play Rice in the city championship game, and we wind up just playing really, really well, and we beat them, and we win the city championship. We played an unbelievable schedule. I think that year we might have beaten who was the number 1 team in the country at the time. And, we go have the national schedule. We beat Bishop Gorman, we beat Gonzaga. We win the city championship. We go up to the States and lose to Mount Vernon. And what was it? He went to Wayne. I can't.
But yeah.
Hello?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, so we lose to Mount Vernon, but the Federation is a great thing to win, but like after winning the city championship game, it's hard to get up for those Federation games.
Yeah,
there was nobody in the stands. It's like we played Cardozo one year at like 10:45 in the morning, and we wound up beating them. There was 5 people in the stands, and we played them the next year at Christ the King, and that was one of the games that I'm saying we were living the old days. We had to close the gate; nobody could get in.
Yeah.
So the third year we went back-to-back city championships, and I'm happy, and I'm really enjoying coaching.
So yeah. Oh, speaking of Rice High School, So I remember Nike, they had the puppet game.
Oh boy, how
I
was that
love
game?
those. I was on the sad part was I was only able to go to one of them, and that was the one at Gaucho's. I didn't know about the first one until later on.
The first one was the most amazing one. Big city dances, Will Frazier, Clyde Frazier, announcing the game. It was amazing, and we won, so it was even more amazing.
Nah, but yeah, like you guys had, I think you guys had like the Titantron up top. You guys had
They put it
fabulous
together. Yep,
performance.
they did that.
Yeah, man. Nike.
Fabulous performance.
I heard that.
Dances.
Yeah,
Yeah, Nike does right.
I heard one of the cheerleaders fainted supposedly. Was that
Something
true?
like that. It was something like that.
Wow.
It was amazing, Dave. That being part of the Nike family is an amazing thing, by the way.
Yeah, it is. Shout outs to Nike, man. They do a wonderful job,
Tony
especially with you
Dorado.
guys.
Yep. Yeah, if I complained, you should punch me.
And then that second year, you guys did the second puppet game. I like that one also. That one I was there for. Like they had a really nice setup. And then obviously maybe a month or two later, you guys beat Rice again in the championship game. Only this
Yep.
time, this was the final game of the school's history.
Yes.
Unfortunately, they had to close. Like, how was it closing out Rice High School?
To me,
Yeah.
it was a sad thing. You know what I mean? Like, you want to be challenged, and Dwayne and Mo Hicks, Mo Hicks I hold in such high regard. It was a sad thing, but I gotta tell you, when I took over Christ the King, Mo Hicks gave me the best piece of advice that any real successful head coach can give a young coach. And I'll never forget him about that. I won't tell you what it is. But know that Mo Hicks is he's a winner in every sense of the word.
Yeah, I gotta get him on here too, man. The culture needs a Mo Hicks story.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got tons of them.
Yeah. So the following year 4, you guys had another successful season again.
But lost in the quarters to Mount St. Michael.
What really happened in that game?
You know what? I had some young guys that didn't want to. I had one or two young guys that didn't want to get on board. And you know what? Like, you learn as a coach. Again, it's only my 4th year, and sometimes it's just better to cut ties with guys, and you're better for it. And so we lose, and then we make a couple of changes, and we come in the following year, and that's the best team I ever coached. I think it's the best year I ever had. Those guys,
the 2013
killers.
team.
Yeah, they were killers. I mean, we ran through everybody. The biggest scare we got were like in the semifinals from Cardinal Hayes. That team, they beat Lockland. We beat Lockland a bunch of times. We went up. We handled Long Island Lutheran. We beat them by 10. After they beat Lincoln, like we were that team with John Severe. We were just clicking on the right cylinders. The only thing about that team is that, on the way up there, that's the day after we won is the day my dad passed away. That's the only thing that went wrong, which is the worst thing that went wrong, right? Like, and I knew he was going to pass away on the way up there. I got the phone call from the doctor, and I said, I called my sister and I called my mother, and they both told me, like, he would want you to finish this thing. So I made sure, like, I made it a point that nobody on the team is like, I wasn't doing the Rocky speech, let's win this for my dad. You know what I mean?
Right.
So nobody even knew it. Nobody even knew that he was going to die. Nobody knew any of that stuff, because I wasn't going to do that to my team, because God forbid we lost. They were such an outstanding team. Like, I wouldn't want anybody to feel bad or anything like that at all. So after the game, Dylan Butler actually interviewed one of my guys. I think it was Jordan Fuchs. And Jordan was like, oh, we don't know his father's dying. Like, we didn't know he was going to die.
Oh man.
And I went home on Monday, and they were upset, like, why I didn't tell them. And I told them why I didn't tell them. But we won, and we wanted to celebrate, and it wasn't time for that nonsense, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, I went home and I saw him, and he passed that day. The day I got home and I saw him. It was, it makes going up to the state championship a little less fun for me now, because it always reminds me
of that time.
Yeah. But you remember a lot of things in your coaching career, and that city championship, like, was the one that solidified, like, hey, Coach Arbitello is a good coach. Like, it's not somebody else's players. He's done it 3 times now. Like, so a couple of my critics stopped being critics for a little while, and I thought, that was the one that, I felt like they really couldn't take away from me. And
So,
then, no, that's it.
Yeah, John Sevilla, he had that amazing season. Like, how was it, having him win New York Mr. Basketball?
I mean, the guy had the best year of anybody ever coached in my life. I mean, that includes Raleigh. I mean, this guy he was tough. He was tough in every sense of the word. Guy put the ball in the basket whenever he wanted to. He made it easy for me. That team, like my '95 team, that team was just clicking on all the right cylinders, and even to the point where you had Rawle Alkins coming off the bench. He scored 17 in the city, and then I think he scored another 17 in the state championship game. Like, that's who's coming off the bench for you. Him and Travis Atson. You think he can win a lot of games?
My man Travis.
Great player. He dunked on more people in his life than anybody combined in my program. That guy used to dunk on everybody.
Now talk about moving forward, Rawle Alkins. Like, how was it having him for like 3 years?
So we come back the next year, and now we're not the favorite, because don't forget, Laughlin brings back that whole team we beat in the city championship. Kareem, Mike Williams, they bring back all the studs. And so we have Raleigh and we have Travis, and, it was just, I was lucky, man. Rawle Alkins just fit right in, and he was a killer. He was a killer. He's the best player I've coached up until that point. And then we brought along a little point guard named Jose Alvarado on that team, and people didn't realize how good he was. Now I think they're realizing how good he was. ACC Player of the Year, and just again, we come back and we're playing Laughlin in the city championship again with that team, but this time we're playing as the underdogs, and we put together a pretty good game plan, Artie, Greg, and myself, and we're lucky enough to beat Laughlin in that city championship game, and then we go back to the Federation and we win the Federation again.
Man,
it's just like it's the culture thing, Dave. like those guys. And again, when you have guys like Travis Atson and Rawle Alkins willing to come off a bench and watching the other guys succeed in front of them, you can win a lot of basketball games, and you can become a program that dominates. It's the problem today, Nobody wants to wait their turn. Nobody wants to get better, play with guys that are better than them. But we were able to do that, and then and Raleigh waited his time, and when Raleigh got his time, Raleigh shined. He's an incredible kid. I mean, my relationship with him was just really, really. It was a really tight one.
That's what's up, man. Shout outs to Rawle Alkins. I hope he gets signed soon.
Hey, you know what? It's the same thing I told him when he was at Arizona. Like, all right, you're still going to get to travel the world, see the world, get paid to play basketball. There's a lot worse things you could be doing with your life right now, right? Like sometimes you got to see God's blessings. I said that to my family just about this COVID thing. Like, yeah, we're all locked inside, but like, when's the next time I'm going to spend 10 months with my family and just be so close to them without the aggravation of work and all the other stuff that life entails. So I'm more of a let's count our blessings kind of guy and not dwell on the negative parts and things.
I hear that, man. Now, yes, let's talk about Jose Alvarado. Like,
Man,
he
Jesus.
really blossomed over the years at CK. He really came up.
You know what I always say, Dave? It's funny. You'll hear everybody talk about how they knew about Rawle Alkins or how they knew about Jose Alvarado. They didn't know about either one of those guys.
Yeah.
Like they were unknown in New York in the 8th grade. Nobody knew about those guys. And then and people were still doubtful of Jose Alvarado. Let's not kid ourselves. They didn't think he could play at Georgia Tech. But those two guys have something in their body, in their mind, and in their heart that people just don't have. And I can't quantify it. I can't explain it. But they're just going to be successful at whatever they decide to put their mind to. Because they just got this, unwillingness to lose. And along with that, you can be a handful at times. So Jose could be a handful. I was just talking to him about a week ago on the phone, and he was saying to me like how he could be a handful, and I said that's my job. Like if you're a handful, we have to make sure that you're not a handful when you leave Christ the King. So Jose, he could be a handful, but when Jose Alvarado got between that 94 by 50. You wanted him on your team. And then he just kept blossoming. And as his mind matured, which you saw, that's what improved his game, was just his maturity. And now you see him at Georgia Tech, extremely mature. You don't really see him lose his mind at all. And that's why he's really flourishing.
Yeah, man. And then you have two other players that's flourishing right now. Two other former players that wound up on the Division I level. Moussa Cisse, who's at Memphis, and Kofi Cockburn. Although both had to move on for Christ from CK, you know what I'm saying? Like, how was it coaching both of them at the same time?
Hard. It's not a thing you do in high school basketball, playing two big guys like that. It's hard to do. So, like, we lost a couple of games because I had to get acclimated to what I wanted to do. It's just not. It's the high school game's not played like that. But we were both very coachable, and until this day, I'm close to both of them. And you ask Kofi what high school he went to, he'll tell you Christ the King.
Yeah, he won't. With all due respect to Coach Smith, who's also one of our guests. I mean, yeah, of course he's definitely gonna love CK, probably a little bit more than a school way out in the middle of nowhere. Because Oak Hill is a great school. But you know what I'm saying? Like, at least you guys have, at least Christ the King has Kmart. They have the corner store. Mouth of Wilson, there's really nothing.
Yeah.
It's away from civilization.
Nothing. Yeah. Now Kofi, he's having a great year. The thing about Kofi is like he was not very good as a freshman. I tell him that all the time. I remember working him out, but boy was he coachable. Me and him people would ask why you letting him shoot elbow jump shots, and I'm like, because that's what he's got to do. Like his free throws are better. Orlando's doing a great job with him over in Illinois, and we started, but everything I ever told Kofi to do, he listened and he did it, and I miss him. He's besides for the fact that he's an unbelievable person. He really is an unbelievable person. The worst thing about coaching high school basketball is that the guys leave, Yeah. You don't get, you get close to them, then they leave, and, there's a bond there, but I tell you what, Ryan's having an unbelievable year too, by the way.
Yeah, actually, I was at shout out to Ryan Myers. I was actually covering his first game when they played Seton Hall in Newark.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
really did. He did really well that day. He did really well. Phenomenal.
Well, think about this. The last city championship is Christ the King, right? We won it in 2000
Yeah.
and the MVP of that game with a kid going to Duke and a kid going to North Carolina was Ryan Myers. So Ryan is Ryan's a tough little kid too. He's having a great year and he's another great kid. I mean, listen, you win with really, you win with good talent, but you win with great kids, great student athletes. And if you have that mixture, you're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah. So let's talk about the partnership with Nike, and the partnership was actually LeBron. Who said
Yeah,
that?
that's Joey.
Joey, what's up, man?
Yeah, what's up, Joey? He's in my ears.
My man, little Joey. But yeah, so talk about the partnership with LeBron and Nike. Like that's huge. Like you guys get all the official LeBron gear before they hit the street.
Man, it's people like you probably know. I don't like it's incredible. It's incredible. I don't even know what to say about it. Tony Dorado, Nike, LeBron James himself are just incredible people. They're incredible people. And the relationship goes back over 30 years. And I think that's where people start to not realize how great of a corporation Nike is. Like, all right, so let's just say you beat us. Let's say, and I'm not saying Stepanak did this, but let's say Stepanak when they beat us in the city championship, like Nike's not giving them a Nike deal like ours. They're gonna stay loyal to us. Like we've been good for 30 years plus. And they our relationship is very valuable to them. And when they're gonna do something in New York, they come to us because they know that we have responsible kids with responsible coaches that is never going to disrespect the brand or make the brand look bad. And I think there's a mutual respect there. And I think that's why we're always being taken care of.
Mm-hmm. And another thing I like about CK is that every time you guys win a championship, there's always a midnight madness. I always wanted to come check those out, man. Always wanted to go.
You're
wanted
always
to see
invited,
that.
Dave.
Yeah, I always wanted to come
Whatever
over
I
there.
do at Christ the King, you're on the list. You're
Cool.
always on the list. You don't even have to text me. Whatever you want to come to, you're there.
All right, cool. So, talk about Christ the King as a school today.
I mean, it's a school that's going in the right direction. I'm in charge of the admissions now, so it hasn't changed much from being a family-oriented place. It's just like it's with improved technology and a little bit more of an influence on the arts and all the other things that schools have to offer you. So sometimes the problem with Christ the King is the basketball team overshadows everything else. And like you would never know that our math team won the state championship 3 years in a row, right? No one knows that.
Wow.
But it's impressive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows that, our speech and debate team is a national team that goes from, state to state. And there's a young lady on that team that's ranked 46th in the nation. No one knows that we have Ian Duff, who was in our theater program as one of the stars of the show New Amsterdam on Channel 2 right now. So like we're trying as a school and using social media and using, just people like you, to get the word out there that we're more than just a basketball program, that there's a lot of great things going on in that building. But unfortunately, all people ever want to write about is like LeBron and the basketball. And it's almost like you're so successful at basketball that maybe if you were a little less successful, they would write about some other things. So that's the direction we're moving. And hopefully, those things start to get put out to people.
right. Like honestly, um, I feel where you coming from as far as the basketball team overshadowing, everything else in the school. But I mean, I work at BDA, Metro BDA, an alternative high school. So right now with Adidas Legacy, so they're giving them a grant, um,
Wow,
where the kids that are going to all the schools within the Adidas Legacy program in New York, LA, and Chicago. Now these kids are able to go to historically black colleges for free.
that's amazing.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of kids, and honestly, a lot of
That's
people,
amazing.
a lot of the kids out, yeah, man, it's really dope. But a lot of the kids from outside of Brooklyn, when they hear Metro BDA, they only know of the basketball program, which has been very good. Shout outs to my guy, Coach Doyle. But also, what a lot of people don't know is that there's actually two different schools: Metropolitan Diploma Plus and Brooklyn Democracy Academy, which I work at. But either way, though both of those schools are great institutions that are helping kids that, unfortunately, the public school system kind of allowed to get lost. You know what I'm saying? So that's just the
That's
purpose of the alternative schools, to get the kids right back on track and get them through high school and get them into college or the workforce. But yeah,
yeah.
there's a lot of stories. But like you said, unfortunately, athletics, you know, overshadows everything good. But then again, you also get other people that don't, that aren't really thinking about basketball. They just thinking about the value of the education, which,
Exactly.
which Christ the King gives a lot of kids a wonderful education.
That's what we're trying to explain to these. That's what we're trying to get to. Like, more than come to see what we have,
Yeah, exactly.
and you're doing some work there, Dave.
Yeah,
Kudos to you and your school, man. That's awesome to hear.
yeah, indeed. So, as you already mentioned earlier, unfortunately, there isn't any basketball going on in New York. Like, how outside of you, how's the team feeling about it?
Not good. It's hurting them. I feel like it's hurting them. Emotionally, mentally. I do. It's just it's out of their norm. They have a lot of free time. I'm fearful of having too much free time
Yeah,
and letting kids just roam. It's not a good thing. It's
not
not a
at
good
all.
thing.
Yeah, man. I mean, unfortunately, we only have one team in all of New York City that's actually able to play basketball,
Yeah,
OSL. But the
right,
only problem is for them, they have to travel outside the state just to
right.
just to play. You know, I mean, and the sad part about it is a lot of the other states coastal New York, like Pennsylvania, Jersey, Connecticut, now
Mm.
they're able to start again. They able to start their seasons, which to me I feel like is totally unfair because it's like the officials, the government, um, unfortunately, I feel like they really just don't care about our youth at all. Yes, I mean, understand the schools got to be closed due to COVID, and all the cleaning, but these kids need recreation. They need something, like, and I like the parks department, the community centers are closed right now. Like, I feel like the kids need recreation. They need something to keep their minds off of whatever they have going on in their personal lives, or they just need something to keep them occupied outside of a job.
They,
Like we just
Dave,
need.
we all know when we were kids.
Hmm,
You know what I mean? Like, you leave them to their own devices, and bad things happen.
yeah,
Kids make poor choices. And like, even I was driving home, my wife pointed out to me, like, the graffiti. You see like a lot more graffiti. I
hmm,
think it's because kids are just bored. Like, they have nothing to do,
yeah.
and all that stuff is only going to escalate.
Man, listen, this year the murder rate went. I think there was like,
Yep,
especially during the summer, there was a lot of murders going on. Like, and then the kid from Monroe, Brandon Hendricks,
yep.
rest in peace. Like that was heartbreaking because I like he
Heartbreaking.
was a great kid, You know what I'm saying? I was actually at the last high school game he ever played when Monroe they played Canarsie in I think it was the first round of the PSAL playoffs. You know, I still got pictures of him from that day. Just to see him, a kid like that was going to college, taken away from this world, like it was tragic. But again, you know, I mean, once opportunities are lost, it's just things can happen. So I just hope that if we don't have, I think what's gonna end up happening is may not be a season, but you know, as long as community centers open back up again, schools can open back up again, the parks can open back up again. That would be much. I think that's well needed for the youth.
Yep.
You know, because I've been like, even when COVID first started, a lot of people they were like, "Oh, you got to stay home. You got to stay home. This, that,
Hmm.
and the third." But I feel like a lot of the adults they're only thinking of themselves and staying alive. And it's like I understand we all need to be safe out here, but don't forget to live. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Appreciate every breath that you take when you wake up in the morning, from the time until the time you go to sleep. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, people have died due to this pandemic, during this pandemic, but at the same time, like, just appreciate the opportunities that you have with family, work. If you're still able to work, you know, just, you know, take today as a blessing. Like, even though you're supposed to look forward to tomorrow, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't forget about today. You know, just take things one day at a time.
I couldn't agree with you more, David. I agree. I hope it gets better, man. I hope what you say comes true. I hope everything opens up and kids can have an outlet. I do. I do.
Yeah, man. So, this is one of my favorite questions before I lead up to the final question. So, if you could go back in a time machine to 1991, what would you tell a young Joe Arbitello at 14 years old as he enters the world of Christ the King high school?
Follow your heart. I made a lot of good decisions just following what my heart and not chasing money or chasing status. I look back at some of the things that I could have did. Like I was offered a coaching job at Holy Cross. If I would have took that job, I probably am not the varsity coach at Christ the King. If I would have stayed working at the auto body shop, I might have had a lot more money than I do right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I would be as happy. So that's what I'm saying. Like just continue to make sure that you follow your heart and not other things that don't matter.
Well said. Final question. What's next in the
Yeah.
future for Joe Arbitello and the Christ the King Royals?
Hopefully a season, just playing some basketball games and trying to win some more championships and building relationship with more players and that's all I want to do. I don't people ask me the question all the time, college, this, that. Joe Arbitello just wants to be at Christ the King. He wants to watch his own kids get big. He wants to stay married to his wife for 50 years and just continue to win games and win championships.
Indeed. Coach, thank you for coming on to share your
Oh,
testimonial. And I wish you and Christ the King nothing but the best moving forward.
same to you, Dave, man. Good luck and congratulations on everything you've done, my man. Really self-done and it's nice watching you grow too. Honest to God. All right, my man?
Indeed. Well, everybody,
Take care, all right?
this is episode 95 of Hoops Talk with Dave's joint. Shout outs to my guy, Mr. Joe Arbitello, for coming on to share your testimonial, to share his story. Um, for those that support Christ the King High School, go check this out on YouTube, Facebook, and IGTV. Stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.
Bye-bye, guys.